From all the fame and glory to starting a top 10 cryptocurrency blue chip,
on a blue chip stock like Kodak,
to being a fugitive wanted in multiple countries. This is the true story of kwon and Luna, one of the craziest cryptocurrency stories in history. Cue that music.
Damn, hustling.
Our story begins with Kwon Do-young, or more commonly known as Do-kwon. Do-kwon was born on September 1st, 1991, a South Korean man who attended Daewon Foreign Language High School. He would later go on to attend Stanford University, where he would study computer science. Do-kwon would go on to graduate in June of 2015. He would later go on to work at Apple and Microsoft 3 months each.
Oh my gosh, come on.
Afterwards, Do-kwon would go back to South Korea to start his own tech company. Now, according to other former Terra employees, Do-kwon also started another failed stablecoin project known as Basecoin, formerly called Basis Coin, which was an Ethereum-based token. Basis raised a large sum of money from venture capitalists, but ultimately was shut down over U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC strikes again. But that is where our story brings us to Terra. After a failed stint with Basecoin, Do-kwon would go on to make the cryptocurrency known as Terra Luna, a blockchain for payments. One of Terra's main features was Terra USD, or UST for short. UST was supposed to be revolutionary technology, a so-called algorithmic stablecoin. In a nutshell, this means the price of UST was supposed to be directly pegged to the US dollar 1-to-1 ratio. For every $1, you could redeem 1 UST. And for every 1 UST, you could redeem, you guessed it, $1. The reason why UST differs from USDC is because USDC is a collateralized stablecoin. This means for the collateralized stablecoins such as USDC, the thing that keeps them stable or pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar is in fact the collateralization of the US dollar amount. So for every $1 you give them, they will in turn put that in reserves and give you 1 USDC. Whereas UST is not collateralized 1-to-1 to the US dollar. Instead, UST was designed to keep its peg through a complex model called burn and mint. This means for instead of 1-to-1 USD, it uses a 2-token system where one coin is supposed to remain stable, in this case UST, and the other coin, Luna in this case, is meant to absorb the volatility. Investors who deposited into Anchor Protocol were receiving a 19% yield that was paid directly for by Terra's reserves. Some critics raised concerns that this was nothing more than a giant Ponzi scheme.
The money we're all going to make, it's not a pyramid scheme. It's not even a scheme per se.
People are getting rich off of this yield, buying Lambos, fast cars, selling get-rich-quick courses.
Yes, we can do the Forex. That's the entire point of it. We are making so much money in the Forex program. I'm going to give you something that I didn't.
Life was good for all parties that were involved. But the thing about Ponzi schemes is it's great as long as no one exploits it. Enter in BlackRock. That's a cool Ponzi scheme you got there. Be a shame if someone
Exploited it.
BlackRock is one of the most powerful and influential companies in the entire world. During this time, BlackRock had over $9.5 trillion. To put this in perspective, BlackRock had more money under management than Russia, India, Mexico, and Canada, get this, combined.
I became a trillionaire quite recently.
These countries are all ranked in the top 15 AP poll for GDP, or the total that a country produces or provides in 1 year. If you have any sort of 401k, Roth IRA, HSA, TSP, anything insurance, I can assure you, it most certainly has to do with BlackRock. In fact, BlackRock is so big and so powerful that no one even knows who owns BlackRock. I'm not even kidding. If you look up who owns BlackRock, well, there's no public figure. But the biggest shareholder of BlackRock is Vanguard. You know, the other most influential and powerful company in the world. Well, who owns Vanguard, you might be asking? Well, there's no public figure, public owner of Vanguard, but the biggest shareholder of Vanguard is, you guessed it, BlackRock. You see, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates are some of the most richest public people in the world. There is an other group of people that are far more rich, far more powerful, and we unfortunately will never know who these people are. I just wanted to paint a picture of who BlackRock really is and the type of exploitation that was really being dealt with by Do Kwon and Terra Luna. And that is where our story brings us to 9/11. Just kidding. Just kidding. Wrong story. Another time, perhaps. But that brings us to May of 2022. BlackRock had borrowed over 100,000 Bitcoin, worth over $4 billion. They borrowed this Bitcoin from Gemini. BlackRock was supposed to turn 25,000 of their Bitcoin into UST. After receiving the total amount, BlackRock then contacted Do Kwon saying that they wanted to sell a large amount of Bitcoin for UST. BlackRock offered to sell a large number of Bitcoin at a discounted price, and Do Kwon, he took the bait. He took the discounted price. This, in turn, caused far less liquidity for UST. You see, liquidity means how much money is liquid for buying and selling. The less liquidity there is, the more slippage in price that follows. After most of UST's liquidity was gone, BlackRock then dumped all of their Bitcoin and UST on the market, causing a massive slippage in price. This in turn caused massive liquidations on both assets. Basically, anybody who was trading either asset was forced to close it at a loss, which caused yet even more slippage in price. The spiral continued and the price spiraled lower and lower. BlackRock then was able to buy back all of their Bitcoin that they borrowed for Gemini at a much lower price, plus a major come up off of the heads of the retail investor. Then on May 9th, 2022, UST officially lost its peg from the US dollar. It began to spiral down, and over the next week, UST went from $1 to less than 10 cents. And to make matters worse for Do Kwon, there was a glitch in the system where you could exchange one UST for $1 US. And that, in fact, is exactly what people were doing. They were trading their UST for $1. Even though the price of UST was only 10 cents, they were getting 90-cent return off of a 10-cent investment. And if you remember from the beginning, Luna was supposed to eat up all of this volatility. And when there is 90% going out and only 10% going in, it's a recipe for disaster. This in turn caused Luna to go from an all-time high of $119 and over a $45 billion market cap to basically zero in a matter of days, with some investors losing over $2 million.
I promised to myself for the last 6 months that I wasn't going to check my portfolio. I wasn't going to look at my crypto profits. And I check my portfolio and I find out that fucking Luna has fucking disappeared. Of all the fucking coins, I put all my money, all my life savings into Luna. Over a year ago, I made $2 million and I come back. It's like a joke. It's like a nightmare. the one coin.
This just goes to show you the importance of diversifying. And for the love of God, take profits. Now, Do Kwon did try to revise Luna by raising more money, but this was unfortunately unsuccessful, as they were basically throwing money at a fire. Eventually, Luna was hard forked into Luna and Luna Classic. This has happened before in the past with other major cryptocurrency projects, such as Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, and many other projects. It's a shame how all of this went down, but let's relax, take a deep breath, and get into the story.
Breathe air!
I personally don't think that this was a rug pull. I mean, the dude put his heart and soul into the project, even naming his daughter Luna with a quote tweet, "My greatest creation named after my greatest invention." Ultimately, 200,000 domestic investors were harmed in this crash. Groups of Korean investors announced that they will be filing a class action lawsuit against Do Kwon. As of 17 May, over 1,600 people have signed up for this class action lawsuit. In September of 2022, South Korean government issued an arrest warrant for Do Kwon for violating financial laws against the country and issuing a red notice against him. Now, Do Kwon has made it clear on multiple occasions that he's in full cooperation with each and every government. While definitely a terrible situation, I'm not sure what laws were actually broken. The United States government put a ban on all algorithmic stablecoins for the next 2 years. After all, this was an exploitation by BlackRock. Now, BlackRock and Gemini have both denied these claims, but I mean, come on, bro. It's on the blockchain for all to see.
I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What, a vertebrae or what portion?
Spinal.
Unfortunately, in these type of markets, someone has to be sacrificed to mark the bottom. Even weeks before this happened, Do Kwon himself was quoted in an interview. It's interesting to see who's going to die in this bear market. Wanted in multiple countries. For what crimes? I'm not sure exactly, but someone has to pay for this massive exploitation. Ultimately, if something could have been exploited, it would have, whether it been from BlackRock or from you. If it could have been exploited, it would eventually have been exploited. I personally think that the cryptocurrency market is actually in a much healthier place for the long term. I think that this event marked the bottom, and we are well past the bottom. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is the story of Do Kwon. That is it for this time. Peace, love, prosperity. God first. God bless. I'm out.
Damn hustling, 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 hustling,
It's your
hustling,
boy,
hustling,
Ski.
hustling, 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 hustling. Every